Good morning, everyone, or good midday, I guess. Not quite, still morning by 1 minute. Thanks for joining our pre-trip webinar for Crossing the Andes. We're going to get started in just about 2 minutes time. We're just going to wait for our other members to join us, including your host, Todd, who will be on in just a minute. So just bear with me, and yeah, we're gonna aim to start right at 12 noon as soon as we're joined by Paula and Todd. So very excited for you heading down to one of my favorite countries anywhere, Argentina and Chile. I love Chile as well, but I'm a big Argentina lover, so we're gonna have a blast. So as I say, we're gonna get started in just about a minute's time. And I just hear my phone dinging, so I'm gonna see if okay. Okay, so I just got a message from Todd, so I think he might be in the wrong Zoom. He's in the wrong meeting. We're going to get started in just a second. I'm just going to get Todd on here because, yeah, as I say, he seems to be in the wrong.
There we go. I see him.
Oh, you see him? Okay, great.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
I was in on the other link.
Okay, you were linked.
Wrongly linked. Hi. Is that Elsa?
No, that's Paula.
No.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Todd.
Hello.
It's
Nice
been
try.
a while.
Yes, it's been a long while. Did you change your hair color?
Maybe.
It's just been in Thailand. It's been getting blonde.
Yeah, that's true. The natural sunlight.
Nice.
All right. It's 12 noon. I'm just looking. We've got a few of our members. Let's see. Have we got everybody?
A couple are already on a cruise out of Santiago, so they will not be
They
joining.
won't be joining. Okay, perfect. Well, then we'll get started. Because in any event, this is being recorded. So and we'll send it off to the others who are able to join. So we're going to make this fairly quick, but the main purpose of the webinar is to just make sure you're prepared. You know what to get ready, what to do, what to expect on the trip. I'll introduce myself. I'm Gordon. I think probably most of you have, if I haven't met you in person, which I think I haven't, then you might have seen me on a webinar before. The most important person, well, next to Paula, of course,
Obviously.
is Todd. Todd, he's going to be the host of your adventure across the Andes to Argentina and Chile. Todd's going to take us through a large part of this webinar, and I'm going to add in my 2 cents worth. So we're going to talk a little bit about pre-trip preparation. So what do you need to get ready for this trip through Argentina and Chile? What's going to happen as regards to flying down there and arriving, and we'll touch on some highlights of the itinerary and just some things that you should just know, be aware of what to expect. That's basically it. So let's get right in. I see one of our members disappeared off the
I just noticed that as well.
Okay, well,
I can see if she reaches out.
Yeah, okay, that's the problem. Well, we're sending a replay anyway, so maybe she heard that and thought, I'll just watch the replay later. All good. So you need to have a passport to go. I imagine in the meantime, I've been saying in our webinars that if you haven't traveled because of COVID or whatever, but in the meantime, I think most of our members have crossed the border since all that. But just make sure you know where your passport is and that it's got 6 months of validity left in it. I think that's important. I see Jennifer and Lori are in one place, so perfect. Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. If you do have questions, by the way, please type them in that chat box as you just did. And so we'll try to address them on the fly, or if not at the end, but we'll try to get to all your questions. I think that's it that everybody needs in terms of preparation. I mean, your vaccination certificate, right? Yeah, you need to have a printed copy of that. It's not I mean, it is required for entry to Uruguay and to Chile. So you may very well be asked for it at the border or not. It's hard to say, but nevertheless, you should have it with you. It is kind of an important document, and I believe yeah, everybody on this trip is vaccinated, so I don't think it's an issue, but that's about it. There are no visa requirements for these countries anymore. There's no there used to be a reciprocity fee for Argentina, but they thankfully dropped that. So yeah, as long as you've got all that, I think you're good to go. Todd, what else should people remember in terms of packing, what stuff to bring for this trip?
Well, because of the temperature is going to vary quite a bit there between day and night, and depending where we are, it's all about layers. I think that's going to be key, so that as the day goes a little warmer or we're at a certain elevation, you might want to have a windbreaker. Prepare for all seasons except for snow, basically. I think spring, summer, fall would be the way.
As we show a picture of Mount Aconcagua with snow on the top, but
yeah, right. We're not going up there though.
But it's a good point, because when you cross the border between Mendoza, between Argentina and Chile, you are going to head up to around 3,000 meters above sea level. So it gets it will be chilly, even though you're not doing much out there, and then you're going to go back to almost sea level, but still it's good to be prepared.
Yeah, and on that point, Gord, as we go through and over the Andes, there is kind of a windy road. So if you do have any issues with motion sickness or anything, some non-drowsy gravel might be a very good thing to have for that part of it. The rest of it should be straightforward. That just gets a little bit more of a adventuresome if you have motion sickness issues. So
exactly. What about
that part of it?
Clothes? I mean, it's casual, right? This trip is casual.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would say, my experience in Argentina, the Argentinians are you know, a little bit like the Italians like they dress well. Not everybody, but I would say, you know, sort of better than average. So if you're going to go out for a nice dinner, because there's a couple of night evenings in particularly in Buenos Aires where you're on your own for dinner, and you must go to assuming you eat steak. And even if you don't, I think you should try it. I'm just kidding. But in Argentina, if you go to one of the finer steakhouses, people are dressed up. So you don't have to be dressed to the nines, but it's, you know, it's nice if you have something that's appropriate for going out to a nicer restaurant.
You don't need a tux, just need maybe a collar, pair of nice pants.
Yeah.
That's it. Ladies, something just smart. Little, not too casual, but just you know, dress it up a little bit if you want to go out to one of these restaurants. So I think to your point, Gord, you want to fit in too. You don't want to stick out and be like, you know, with your Gore-Tex and whatever when you're in a fancy steak restaurant. So
yeah, absolutely. I see Jennifer asked a question about preparing for the high altitude. Here's the thing: you're going up there, but you're not going to be exerting yourself. Other than for those members who are going on to Atacama, which also is high altitude, but you're not. There's no hiking, or there's no sort of a lot of physical exertion. So here's the thing: if you have some medical issue, some physical issue that where you might have a concern about that, then, you know, the best thing is to consult with your physician. But honestly, 3,200 meters, 10,000, 11,000 feet is, for most people, is not an issue. So and as I say, you're not doing anything. I mean, as Paula says here, you know, best to avoid alcohol. Definitely hydration is important. And some people say to take medication, honestly, for 3,200 meters, unless your doctor recommends it, I don't think it's necessary. It's really totally fine. Yeah, you shouldn't have an issue. But anyway, just to mention that. And Paul says eat carbs. Yeah. So yeah, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Pack layers, comfortable, good shoes, lots of walking. I think that's the main thing there. Other stuff to remember, the plugs and stuff. Todd, what should we know there?
And they're two-prong. That's what we need there.
Yeah, European style.
European style, it's this one.
Yeah, exactly. The one in the
That one.
top thing there. It's all in your pre-trip information document. If you plan to use your phone, just make sure it's unlocked. Most phones are. If you're going to get a prepaid SIM, I mean, of course, you can use the Canadian mobile providers' exorbitantly expensive roaming from home. I don't recommend that. You can, if you really think you need to be on the internet, need the phone, you can pick up a prepaid phone card in Argentina, which will not be valid in Chile. So you would need one for both countries. So if you need to be on your phone, you can find Wi-Fi in hotels, restaurants, all over the place. But if you need to be or want to be accessible all the time, then an unlocked smartphone is a good idea. And if you're also, because there is time obviously to venture out on your own, on this trip, unlike our liveaways, we use for communicating with the host on our liveaway programs the Telegram app, which is very similar to WhatsApp. Yes, and WhatsApp definitely works there, like it works anywhere. But we use for our host Telegram. You can use WhatsApp as well. It's really between you and Todd.
Okay, and on this point, there is an app for eSIMs. I've been doing a lot of research on it. Never used it before, but I'm going to try it for this trip. It's called Airalo, and so AIRALO, and they have a Latin American one that gives you 2 gigs of data, and it's good in the 3 countries we're visiting. So you can buy it online. It goes on your phone, eSIM. You don't even have to worry about it. It goes through the main carriers there. I've done a little bit of research on this. And it's $28 US for 2 gigs, and it's good for 15 days. And you can always top it off. So that one I'm going to try for the first time.
Yep. Would you type the web link into the chat box for the benefit of our members, and then they can take a look at that if they're interested in that.
Perfect.
Yeah, other stuff that you may need. I mean, yeah, other than clothing wise, I mean, have a good camera with you. You don't need much for this trip other than a good sense of adventure. I think other things to remember. We might as well let's talk about currency before we get into the questions about safety and security and all the rest of this kind of stuff. Currency. So I put on the picture of the Wise card here, which is what we highly recommend for traveling in most places in the world, like Europe. The Wise card, and there's a link to it in your pre-trip information document. You can preload with, you can put Canadian dollars and easily convert it to other countries at the best rate, better than any bank in Canada will give you. And you can withdraw it. So you can use it as a debit credit card. It's a Visa, so very, very handy. On this trip though, the only thing to note about it is that you can certainly use it as a credit card, but Argentina, and so I'll take this opportunity to talk about that. Argentina uses the Argentinian peso, which is a very unstable currency. So the official exchange rate from dollars to pesos is about, for the US dollar to the Argentinian pesos, is about 8-1. But the unofficial, the so-called blue dollar rate, is about 13-1 at present. It fluctuates all the time. And so it is basically common, not technically legal, but pretty much everybody does it, to buy dollars on the black market, the so-called blue dollar. Because as I say, there's about a 30 to 40% difference in the exchange rate. So if you use your credit card to buy something in Argentina, you're going to get the official exchange rate. So you're going to get about 8-1. But if you use cash and you buy Argentinian pesos with US dollars, as I say, the rate is roughly 13-1. We put some information in the pre-trip information document about all that works. You can also Google it. It's good to inform yourself. So when you get to Argentina, and Todd will be on the lookout for this, is you can go to currency exchange dealers, right? I mean, there's guys on the street yelling out cambio, cambio. You'll see that when you walk around. Everybody wants to exchange Argentinian pesos because the currency is not very stable. So that's a good thing. Chile, Uruguay for the day trip, totally different. They're fine, currency stable. You can put, Chilean pesos or Uruguayan pesos onto the Wise card if you want to make purchases in those countries, so you don't have to bother with cash. So I think that's an important point. Is there anything else?
You can always move the currency back out of that if you've done it you can move it from one to the next to the next. That money just moves around based on however you want to move it around within the card.
So easy, and again, it's so much cheaper than any other way to manage currencies. What we use internally now, it's absolutely the way to go. So check that out. So flying to Argentina. I think the most important thing here is double check your flights. The airlines are pretty good about letting you know if there's going to be a delay or anything. But double check your flights, because there have been issues before. Obviously, there are no more direct flights to Buenos Aires since COVID, so you're likely to be flying via Sao Paulo. Todd, I think you're flying on the same date as some of the members, yeah?
Yes, I am. And we're going to meet in the departure lounge at the gate. I'll find you. I'm going to walk around and I'll make sure I find you before we leave.
Exactly.
So that when we arrive in Buenos Aires and meet you guys at I'll be waiting once you get off the plane. We'll all gather and then we'll go to the luggage carousel together.
Yeah, exactly. And you wear the Wheel and Acre shirt?
No, it doesn't fit anymore, Gord. The trip to Africa, it was pretty sedentary for 3 weeks, so that shirt's a little tight.
Yeah.
But I'll find you. Don't worry. I will definitely find you guys.
Yeah. You'll find Todd. Now that you've seen him, you'll find him. He'll find you.
Yeah. Flag me down. Yes.
I'm just going to address a couple of the questions that came in on the dollars. Can you use US dollars in Argentina? Absolutely. You can absolutely use them. And the only thing is if you're going to use them, you want to get as many $1 bills as you can, or ones and fives, but small change, because you want to try to pay with as close to the price as possible. And of course, in Argentina, like anywhere, I mean, other than the fancier shops, you can't haggle, but anywhere else you definitely can and must haggle over the price in Argentina, particularly if you're shopping with US dollars, because they all want US dollars. So that's important to remember. Vivian asked a question about, can you use Chilean pesos in Uruguay? No, I wouldn't. So that's why, because you're only going to Uruguay for the day, quite honestly, just, again, if you have a Wise card, put it, $50 or $20 or whatever into Uruguayan pesos and use that when you're in Uruguay. And then you can flip them back over to Chilean pesos. But the money, it's not going to be convenient to be able to walk into a shop and try to pay with Chilean pesos in Uruguay. And I wouldn't honestly buy it in advance. It just doesn't make any sense. First of all, you'll have a hard time finding it unless you buy it from the currency exchange places at the airport, and they are thieves. I'm sorry, but the rate is terrible. Better to get a Wise card and withdraw it from an ATM. Okay. So yeah, and the only other thing about arriving into Argentina, of course, is, as we put on there, very important, if there is a delay, particularly a delay, not 10 minutes, but if there is a delay that's such that you might miss a connecting flight that might impact your arrival time. Obviously, if you're traveling with Todd, you're all going to be delayed. But if you're, and I think the rest of the members are already there, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue, because the other guys are some of you are already going to be in Buenos Aires, so you don't need to let us know, except that if we've arranged a transfer for you, and you are going to be delayed. It's just important to use that delays@wheel&anchor email address, because then we can take action and make sure that the local people are informed and that you get picked up at the airport. You'll arrive in, no big deal. As I say, there's no reciprocity. There's no really any, just the usual customs formalities, and you'll meet Todd and you'll head into town.
Exactly.
About all there is to say about that. So just summarizing the trip again, as you know, the trip starts in Buenos Aires, capital of Argentina, and you're going to spend 5 wonderful nights there. And really, it's great because you can spend a lot of time in Buenos Aires. It's one of my favorite cities. And you're going to visit Uruguay. You're going to cross the Rio de la Plata, the river, which looks more like the sea, and visit Uruguay, Colonia del Sacramento, which is a lovely, lovely town on the coast there in Argentina. You're going to get up to the delta of the Rio de la Plata and Tigre. And then you're going to be in Mendoza, obviously, for a few days, which is, of course, the wine capital. So if you drink wine, you've undoubtedly had wine from Mendoza, Argentina, and the areas around there. And you're staying in Buenos Aires. Well, I'll cover that in a second, where you're staying. You'll cross the Andes. That's a long day by coach, because you leave first thing in the morning, and the whole journey into Santiago will probably take about 9 hours, depending on how long you stop at the border. And it's a hard border. So in the sense of there's formalities on the Argentinian side and formalities on the Chilean side, and it's all very exciting. And then, of course, the last days in Santiago and visiting Valparaiso, and unfortunately not Easter Island. Obviously, that was that didn't happen, but Atacama, I'll talk about that in a second for those that are going up there. So just on your notes, Buenos Aires, yeah. What can I say? Amazing city. It's kind of like it's got European influences to it. I mean, you'll walk around the streets in downtown, and it feels a little bit like Paris or Madrid, and at the same time also Latin American, but it has a very modern area as well around Puerto Madero on the shore of the river. It's a very cool city. I think the one thing to address there is about security. Todd, did you want to say a few words about that?
So like any big city, you just got to be smart. I wouldn't be wearing all the jewels. I would keep that, downplay a little bit of all of that. So leave the jewels in the safe at the hotel.
Or at home.
We are in a group. So, I mean, listen, pickpockets are a reality, and maybe they're a little more so. So we just have to be very aware of our surroundings. I keep it in my eyes peeled all the time. I'm very aware of it. And I can't promise that it will not happen, but if we're ahead of the curve, thinking ahead of what they're gonna, like, just mitigate against it. That's basically the best way to do it. So don't be flashy. Keep your money tucked away somewhere inaccessible to easy prying hands. Like, don't have your bag open with your wallet exposed. Just common sense, actually. So I wouldn't really concern about it. We are in a group. We're in safer areas. We're not in the rough areas of town or anything like that. We are in the major areas where there is security and there is police all around. So the chances are minimal. So I'm not worried about it. We got to be smart. That's all.
Exactly. I mean, most places in the world, I would say, for women carrying a purse, I honestly would avoid carrying a purse. And I know that, women like to carry a purse. It probably, you're not going to have a bag snatching. It does happen. It does happen. I mean, this is Latin America. This is a big city. So if you can get away without it, like if there's one place that I would consider to wear a money belt, it would be here. And I'm not saying you're not likely to have a problem, but if you're somebody that's nervous or concerned to begin with, it's something to consider. Like,
and we're going to keep our passports in the safe at the hotel. We don't need them to walk around. Have a coffee on you, if anything. Minimal cash, not all your credit cards. Maybe just carry one with you, and leave the rest of your ID, everything there, in case of an eventuality. But I'm really not too concerned. I've been doing some reading on it, and that, as you said, Gord, bags that's the easiest thing to take. So if possible, don't carry the bag, and we should be okay.
The only other scam that people should be aware of, and again, because you're going to be traveling together, you're a small group anyway, is taxis in Buenos Aires. I've already briefed Todd on this situation. You only want to take certain taxis that say radio taxi on them, because the taxi scams are very prevalent. I've been caught before myself.
No, good word.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
cutting out.
Yeah, but there is Uber there. So, and Uber is a lot more secure. So if you're gonna do it anywhere, I would have the Uber app and just do that. That way if it's trackable, those people, it's a whole other, it's a lot more secure taking an Uber, I think, overall.
Exactly. So in Buenos Aires, obviously you're going to see, you have a tour around the city. You're going to see all the cool parts of town, La Boca, the home of the tango, and you're going to see, the palace here, Casa Rosada, the parliamentary palace. This incredible boulevard with the spire here in the middle. Now I forgot the name of it. The Avenue of the 9th of July. It's just, yeah, you're going to have a marvelous time. As I say, you're going to cross to this beautiful town on the other side of the very brown river called Colonia del Sacramento in Uruguay. Yeah, you're going to be really mesmerized by Buenos Aires. I think it's the type of city that you'll probably want to go back, just because it's so big and there's so much to see, and it has just such a great vibe. And yeah, tango, part of it's a bit touristy to watch, but the interesting thing is if you go around that neighborhood, beyond the tango show that you'll go and see, which is great. But when you see the little studios and you hear the music, and it's just a fantastic experience. And we included in this program as well to go up and visit Tigre, because you've got that extra time. And this is kind of like a getaway, like almost like a cottage area for the so-called porteños, the people that live in Buenos Aires. And so it's really neat. There's also there's a big market around that area. At least I think it's still there from the last time I was there. So that's it's going to be a nice little getaway. You'll fly then over to Mendoza, which does look like this, all these big plane trees up and down the streets. And it's flat, except you have the Andes Mountains in the background. Magnificent. So make sure you get your wine palette ready for Mendoza. Let's face it, Mendoza, it's a beautiful city, and the hotel, the Park Hyatt, is right on the Independence Square. So you're perfectly situated in the middle of town. And it, like Buenos Aires, it's not nearly as big a city, of course. But you still have to be a little bit careful security wise. Yeah, it's fine. And as Todd said, we in a group most of the time and taking in this amazing city. I mean, you're going to be really, I think, impressed by all of that. And yeah, as it says here, one of the great wine capitals of the world. So be prepared to taste lots of wine. And also, you've got to eat steak. I think I said it there when you're in Argentina, if you're a steak lover. Yeah, well, Todd will give you some advice on steak.
Well, that traditional carving, the way that they cook it and then they carve it off of the skewers right at the table, it's a magical experience. If you love meat, and wine, you can't go.
But if you don't love meat, they do have things for you as well. So yeah, the road, talking about windy roads. It's a magical experience. I pray for you that the weather's nice, because you can see Aconcagua, the highest mountain in the Andes, on your way over the pass between Chile and Argentina, of course, if the weather's good. And then you'll arrive in Santiago, which is, very different. Obviously a huge, busy, thriving city in and of itself. You've got some time here to explore what this is all about. Mercado Central, the big market in the middle of town. Same rules apply for safety and security. It's a very safe city. You'll see it has even more modern skyscrapers. When you come into the city, you'll be like, wow, it looks like New York almost. I mean, not quite as dense, but it's this fabulous mix between old Spanish colonial type buildings and some of the newer skyscrapers and stuff, and you're well situated there. And you'll have a day trip out to Valparaiso on the coast of the Pacific. The city is a UNESCO site. They've got these funiculars, which are the UNESCO part, and you'll ride at least one of them. The ascending rail cars that go up, because it's like built it's like one large plateau around the city, and then to get up onto the hillsides, you take all of these funiculars. Great place. And then that'll be that. And then obviously a few of members, there's 4 of you continuing on to the Atacama Desert. You've got all the details on that. I won't go into any great detail. If you have a question that you want to ask now about the Atacama, that was obviously the extension that we offered to those that, because the Easter Island didn't work out. You're going to love the Atacama Desert. It is absolutely breathtaking scenery. So, but Todd will be leaving you there, but you'll be in good hands with our folks up in the Atacama when you get up there. And yeah, so now's the time for any other questions. How many on the tour? How many are on the tour? 8?
8, including me.
8, including you. So there you go. You get Todd all to yourself. So it's a pretty small group. Yeah, you're going to have a blast. You're going to be very well looked after. You're going to have a marvelous time. I think we covered weather. I think we covered anything else. Is there anything else that we didn't cover?
I made note at the beginning, not necessarily so much for the trip itself, but the return, just coming back into Canada recently, although they're not requiring us to fill in the ArriveCAN app, it expedited the process of re-entry significantly. So I do suggest it for those that are still willing to do that, opposed to wait in line for the machines at the airport.
Oh, so you can skip the machines by using the ArriveCAN app.
Yeah, there was signs. I mean, at least in Toronto Airport, they had signs to direct you to an express lane, which is also where the Nexus pass holders went. And it was like a 10th of, like a fraction of us that went that direction versus those that didn't complete the ArriveCAN app and were going to the machines to essentially enter all the information that is collected, can be collected in advance. So
Oh yeah, great.
yeah,
Okay, well,
a nice
that's
thing to kind
great.
of expedite your re-entry, save lineup time.
All right, well, that's good advice. I did not aware. I had deleted my ArriveCAN app, so now I'll redate it again.
I literally filled it in when I disembarked from the plane. I was like, oh, I wonder if I should still do this. And yeah, I was happy I did it. It was really quick, but I mean, if you fill it in probably the day before or something departing, it makes
you
life
go.
a little bit
Take
easier.
some time at the airport in Toronto, or in Toronto, I guess, where everybody's flying through.
Mhm.
If you have any other questions, obviously drop us a note. Todd's email is there as well. You can email him directly, todd@wheelandanchor.ca, or of course Paula, or of course me. Just drop us a note if you have a question. You're gonna have a blast. I think that wraps it up. Have a marvelous time. I will be jealous. I'll be in touch with Todd all the time, seeing how you guys are doing, because I'm excited for this adventure. It's been a couple of years since I was down in that part of the world, and I really miss it. So
We'll say hello for you, Gord.
yeah, please do say hello to my Porteño.
Send us pictures.
Yes, we will. Awesome.
All
Okay, I
right.
look forward to seeing you all. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait. We've only got 3 weeks to go, a little bit. This is fantastic. So
Fantastic. Yeah,
See
you're
you guys
going at the
soon.
perfect time of the year.
perfect.
Fantastic.
Gord.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks, Gord.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.